Hello, I'm Dr. Sherri Young. I'm the Health Officer and Executive Director of the Kanawha-Charleston Health Department. And today with me we have Dr. Clayman, world-renowned psychologist who is going to talk about the COVID virus. And so one of the things I'd like to talk about with you today is that this isn't just a physical illness. People have a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety over the COVID virus. What are some advice that you could give that would help people deal with this?
What we're looking at now is two different groups of people. People who are warriors to start and are going into the panic phase. Mm-hmm. We have others that can't get their arms around this, and so they're not even being able to figure out what to worry about. So there's two different groups. One that's kind of overdoing it, and one that's kind of underdoing it. And we're concerned that both of those groups are going to behave in a way that's not healthy for them psychologically.
That's very true. And so with the physical aspect of this and the psychological aspect of this, what's some advice you could give both of those groups?
Well, first is to accept something as bad as happening. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing you have to do. It may not be as bad as you think, but it may not be as good as you want. Right. That's the first thing.
Excellent.
Second is to recognize that we're dealing with something that's unknown, and the thing is a novel virus. We're not used to having our public officials not be able to give us answers. And right now, the epidemiologists and everybody's saying, we really don't know what this is going to do. And you have to accept that we don't have the knowledge.
That's true. And so we look to our leadership to make us feel better because they know the answers. And this is something that is new to everyone. So a lot of people are not getting those answers.
And they think the answers are too simple. 50% reduction in chance of catching if you wash your hands. Another, I think, 27 or 28 if you don't shake hands. It's huge. So we can eliminate 80% of our risk by two simple behaviors. Well, it's too simple for some people, so they don't believe it's really a bad thing that's going on. So we have to maintain a level of concern that allows us to keep doing these healthy behaviors without getting too upset about it. That's the first part.
Exactly.
And that's it's a psychological, behavioral view of the world that is not a magic miracle cure.
Yes.
It's just a simple public health initiative.
Right.
That's the first part.
And so you mentioned that there is no cure for this, and that is one of the things that I think people are struggling with is that they either want a vaccine or a treatment. And so they're so focused on the physiologic part of it that maybe they are missing their own symptoms psychologically.
And we have to worry about isolation. Because of either voluntary or involuntary quarantines, or we have the idea of social distance now. You and I apologize to each other as we reach to try to shake each other's hand,
right,
knowing we're supposed to keep our zone of protection. We are naturally, as human beings, wanting to have connection.
Yes.
When we're denied that connection, we get anxious. Compound that with having no answers to the virus issue, and we now have increased likelihood of either anxiety or depression or both. A tendency to get angry, to get frustrated, to have all these kind of maladaptive behaviors about something we can't control. And that ends up being what the major issue is. We cannot control what the virus is doing. So the only other option we have is to control the way we think and what we do. And that is the psychological answer to all of this, is to find things you can control, to plan for the fact that you might be isolated, and use that time not because you're sick. You're going to be sick. But the majority of that time, you're not.
Right.
So you can read, you can sit on your porch, you can clean out your drawers, you can get your taxes done, you can start anticipating the positive side of having a little bit of time off, even though you may not be going to work and those kind of things that are important.
Yes.
So that's the kind of thing we have to do to take care of ourselves psychologically. And it is not as hard as people think, but you have to be proactive. You have to start planning for it now, and not when you have 103 fever and you can't get your head up off the pillow.
Exactly, and I think that's good preparation, is to plan for the things that you will need, know that some of this will be uncertain, but control the things that you can. And I think that's in that preparation piece.
And set up your network. For older people who may have family living outside of the state or whatever, learn how to use things. Come to the 21st century, learn how to use FaceTime or Zoom, or there's a whole bunch of them out there now. Learn to use those social media so you have that face connection, not just a voice.
Right.
Set up networks of your neighbors and your friends so you can stay in contact. One day it's your turn to call, the next day it's somebody else's turn to call, so you feel useful and you feel back in control.
That's a good point.
Check with some younger people in your neighborhood who may be willing to go to the grocery store for you or to the drugstore to pick up your prescriptions. The more you take action, the more you feel in control, the less likely you are to feel depressed and anxious.
That is a wonderful, wonderful set of advice. And so the preparedness piece, that is something that we've been working on for a while, but that gives the public something to do during an uncertain time.
Yes.
So I really appreciate you talking with us today about the depression and anxiety surrounding COVID-19.
Pleasure.
Thank you.